Alright, another draft physics video presentation. Just sort of a this and that episode. Anyway, do some comments, clean up some other older stuff, that kind of thing, and such. Not have a proper voice. I don't know whose voice this is right now, but it's not exactly mine. But we'll deal with it, I think, and see what happens. All right, so somebody who sends me links now and then did the kindness of doing some research, and this Baldy Cats thing shows up. Agree to disagree. So apparently he's created a website devoted to the very thing, debating. And clearly I've offered to pay to have one of these debates, and that didn't work. So him and some other guy moderate debates. Now, yes, they look like they're just clickbait, subject-wise. Yeah. I mean, the gender debate. What? Is this complicated? I'm sorry. It's really, yes, you can decide to be anything you want in your head, okay, but you can't change whether you have testicles and ovaries or whether you don't have either, or you have both. So I guess you could say there's 4 options, but that's all there are, physically, and the rest of it is all a game we play in our heads, and it's kind of silly, what your life preference is. I've been many things in my dreams, that aren't me. It's okay. You can be other things. And they were truly things, you wouldn't even call them gendered. But anyway, it's just a stupid debate. Sorry. Fail. And then pro-life, pro-choice. Well, it's just too fucking stupid. The question is, pro-idiotic gibberish versus, thinking like a rational person. I mean, if you're not pro-choice, then you should be shot as a hypocrite, because you're murdering animals all the time that are far more elaborately constructed and far more in need of comfort and sympathy than a silly fucking fetus. I mean, it's just too fucking stupid. So the question is, pro-religion is what it is. Are you pro-fables to defend silly policy? The end of the debate, really. That's all the debate is. There's no reasoning involved here at all. Okay, I mean, unless you think the adult pig is less than the fetal pig. Okay, so if that's what you think, then you're really, really, really stupid. Anyway, and then climate change, which again is, it's really just an argument about some understanding of the fact that carbon, okay, in spite of the fact that it doesn't look like it's really important, is important. It's a mediator. It's a little bit like a catalyst. It's sort of like the chemical you need to digest a vitamin kind of thing. It's a something that's necessary to fuck up the humidity argument, the water one. So it's really about water vapor in the atmosphere. And anything that causes more water vapor to be in the atmosphere will end up causing a greenhouse explosion. So, see, there's a subtlety to the argument. So they get so lost in this, look too deep, forest through the trees kind of thing. They're so stuck on the fucking tree that they can't see the forest. And the forest there's a bunch of black shit indicating carbon, okay, that has been shoved into the ground. Okay, so, and some of the black shit is in the form of methane, which doesn't look black, of course, but it's got blackness in it, trust me. This stuff is, slowly but surely, the little critters on Earth have, sunk all this carbon, and we've released a big giant hunk of it. Now it's a small hunk of the coal, but we've released it, maybe half of the oil. It's a lot of black stuff we've thrown back into the game, and that seems to me to be all you really have to understand, is that when you do that, then you go backward in time, essentially. And what happened backward in time? Oh yeah, it was a lot warmer, and therefore it's humid. more humid. The air was thicker, okay, full of moisture. Everything was kind of swampy. That's why all the dinosaurs are big. It's because they were sort of swamping around, right? Brontosauruses could get away with being kind of funny looking because they were swamping. They weren't, walking the desert or something. So anyway, I don't want to have to explain all that. It's not my expertise anyway, but I mean, it seems that obvious. I'm just saying the obvious way to look at it as, just big, giant, glaring facts. Black stuff in the ground, we put it back in the air. That probably means something. It would be kind of silly to say it doesn't mean anything. Yeah, that would be kind of silly. Anyway, so stupid debate. And then BLM, I mean, I'm purely sympathetic with the idea that cops suck. I mean, their mentality is just so fucking stupid, and they're really not required to. All we have to do is we have to just hold them to a higher standard of accountability. I've said this forever, since, as long as I've been here, I've sort of realized that the more power you have, the more accountability you have. That is, the more transparent everything you do is. The more cameras we have on you, the more we listen to your phone calls, the more we watch what you're doing, all of that stuff. If you have power, you have to have the liabilities of power, which is you have to be inspectable. You have to, we have to be able to know what the fuck you're up to, what's going on in your little fucking head. And instead, cops have more privacy rights and more unaccountability and more protections and more immunities, and that's just too fucking stupid. And I don't know why people vote for that kind of crap. I don't know why they don't require every single congressman they ever vote for to say overtly, yes, I will propose bills that impose higher accountability, that would throw me in jail, that would cut off my fucking head if I trespass against this oath I took to the Constitution. And if they can't measure up, I mean, it's really that, and it's not that onerous. But again, to turn this into purely a race thing is just, it's really not. The Alabama police are beating up, drunken rednecks all the time. The white ones, they'll 9mm them right on the side of the road. I mean, but it obviously becomes a race thing in the sense that obviously we all profile, to some extent. It's just inevitable to do. And the fact is, a lot of black people don't live in mansions in Beverly Hills, and a few do, but most of them don't. And people with less means, generally speaking, it's just a fact. Being poor usually means poor financially. Usually means you're a little bit poor character-wise too. It's just a fact. You've been swayed by the hood, and you become probably some sort of hoodlum, likely to be transgressing against the law to make extra money. All of these negative things. So yes, black people are proportionally, percentage-wise, more likely to be per capita stuck in poverty and have kids way too young. They're way too fatherless, way too a lot of things, blah 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 blah. So there ends up being more criminals, of a certain race, and it really doesn't have anything to do with the race. It just has to do with the culture. And, this BLM stuff is all really nice. You want to do this kind of crap and create a whole freaking movement and all that shit. But the movement really should be, clean up. You got to do better. You've got to, if you want to be part of the civilization, now you want to be a counterculture, and then you're expecting to be treated equally. I mean, you're deliberately doing counterculture. You're deliberately being, hey, we'll piss off Whitey by saying nigger all the time. I mean, if you deliberately want to be obnoxious, okay, fine. Then get what you're going to get for that. Because that's the way it's going to work. You either want to be civilized or you want to be some other culture. You want to be some other, ideology. You want to live some other kind of life, and then you want to sit there and complain because, hey, those other people, those star-bellied sneetches, don't want to live like us. Yeah, well, that's the truth. That's the way it's going to be. Yeah, those are facts of life. And you're expecting the culture to be so flexible in its definition of reasonable behavior that there is no culture. So that's my commentary. I mean, I can sincerely say I'm I'm empathetic with the underdog cause. Um, Black people weren't given any legacy in this country. They were denied education and denied wealth. And by being denied wealth, they were denied inheritance and a lot of things. And that has an implication in the long term, and we're living with that implication. But it's not going to be fixed by, let's just make it worse. That's not going to fix it. Calling white people niggers isn't going to help. Uh, you know, the man's out to get me kind of crap. That's not gonna do the job. But anyway, I probably said more than I should because it's all political crap. But anyway, so I just find it ironic, right? I mean, this is a pathetic irony that I'm sitting there pleading with him for the opportunity to debate his physics, while he's sitting there moderating other people's debates. I mean, holy shit, hypocrite. I mean, it's just too stupid. Incomprehensibly dishonest of this douchebag, to make these weaselly little claims to evade the very thing he thinks has some value. Debate. So anyway, all right. Next on the agenda. All right, the American slave guy has posted a video at Gary. Okay, I didn't watch it because who needs more of this trolley crap? With the trolley kind of images, trolley. So I did play it, and he starts with an apology, which okay, all right. But I'm sure there's other crap afterwards, so it's probably worth playing just for the other crap afterwards. I apologize, but you suck. Whatever the stupid thing's going to be.
So I'm just gonna wrap this whole thing up with Gary, so it can be over with. I'm fine. I think I'll always be all right.
Well, I mean, really, you should be all right. That's right, because all there was a disagreement. You called me ridiculous and stupid and a fraud and a fake and all these negative things, and I reacted by saying, "Yeah, fuck you." Okay, you fed my trolls, my haters. You fed them. You gave them little, ooh, we're revealing the truth to the to the dupes and enlightening them of the conspiracy that Gary's organizing against us honest science believers. Whatever the contrivance is. But yeah, you fed them. And you think I was supposed to react with what other than, oh, fuck you?
But dude, if I said anything, or
Now, let's see, but dude, right there, dude is there's no other way to look at it except as an arrogant pejorative. All right, I mean, it's something morons do. This dude thing. Now, there was one movie where they called him the dude, which, okay, maybe that can work. Okay, so if you first call somebody the dude, and then you call him dude, well, that might work. But the rest of it is all just somebody basically saying, hey, dumbass. Yeah. I mean, when I'm saying dude to somebody, hey, dude, that just basically says, dude, you're too fucking stupid, and now I'm going to have to correct you because you're such a dumb idiot. You're basically one of those dumber guys, and I'm going to have to say, hey, Mr. Dumber. That's what dude is. Dude is just a possession. It's like saying boy, frankly. I mean, it's just the modern version of, hey, boy, wise up. It don't work that way. A horse goes in front of the cart, not behind the cart. The pull system. Actually made out of pushes. Yeah.
wrote anything that caused you to feel some type of way or offensive or whatever,
offensive or whatever. Like I said, I mean, you could be a little bit more stand up in the apology, I guess, and just say, yeah, I got way ahead of myself and I started talking shit. But instead, you're saying, "Oh yeah, it's on me. I misinterpreted the word ridiculous and your mocking laughter. I misinterpreted it. You sat there and called my kids ugly little trolls, and I misinterpreted. No, I didn't misinterpret.
Apologize, okay? I apologize for it. I hope it works out for you.
Well, yeah. See, it's not much of an apology now in second version. The second playing of it. Well, yeah, that was really weak, wasn't it? But that's another thing people just do. To kind of evacuate, from what they've done is to play this. Oh, I wish you the best. Well, they really aren't doing any such thing. It's just horseshit language. Blah blah blah. They're just trying to whitewash, with pleasantries.
But if I'm going to apologize for it, I'm also going to say some other things that I think.
Yeah, great. Say some other things to basically point out that I had good reason to find you repugnant.
Could really benefit you. First off, let's just assume that you're right. Let's assume I'm wrong and you're right.
That's easy for me to do, frankly. But yeah, let's assume I'm right. What am I doing? Okay, right is fighting wrong. Wrong is now in power. Okay, Adolf Hitler is now running physics, and I'm showing up as the white knight of whatever variety. I can't really come up with a hero from World War II because there aren't any. I mean, running the show. The politics of the war was disgusting. But anyway, let's continue.
About everything with physics, okay?
Yeah.
Where the hell else am I going to go to learn it?
Well, that's not my job. You see, we're not in the learning phase. We're in the correct the institutions of education phase. I've pointed out that right now they're teaching physics that's just so flawed and obviously misleading, and I guess would be the words to use. It's completely constructed to propagandize, not to inform correctly. And it's all in defense of their theory, and it's all presented in defense of their choices about what they've decided the truth is. So they're fighting for capitalism. And I'm showing up to say, no, okay, inheritance isn't capitalism, so unless you take that out of it, we're not even going to talk about it. But that's not earning anything. Okay, so that's bullshit. And obviously we have to worry about these monopolies that get to control things, and they start buying up all the competition and buy up all the patents and buy up all the stuff and completely control a market. And so that's not capitalism either. That's playing a game. That's just gross exploitationism. And this whole idea that wages are based on how many poor people there are, and so that's just exploitation. The bottom should be a real bottom. You can't go lower. This constant search for a cheaper piece of labor is not capitalism. That's not earning it. That's just exploitation. So I would replace that with incentive economics. Something where you always get rewarded for adding value. But you don't win lotteries. We don't store up all the rewards in one place and then give all the gold to one person. It's not a silly lottery. It's a real merit system with real proportional rewards, period. That would make much more sense. So I'm trying to fix that. I'm not here trying to recruit you, okay? So in this war, there is no battle with non-combatants, okay? Civilians aren't part of this war. This is a military operation, okay? Me against them. And yeah, they have more soldiers and all that kind of crap, but it's a professional war. The peasants can't really get involved because it's, this war requires an understanding of a certain amount of technology. You got to know how to drive tanks. You got to know how to do stuff. If you can't do that stuff, there's no point in you being in the way. The peasants are just in the way, okay? I mean, the spectators are just in the way. They can't do anything constructive to help because the real battle has to be between, me and that conventional army.
I can't go to the library and learn it. I can't go to school and learn it. They're going to teach me the wrong thing.
Okay, exactly. So you figured that much out, and that's good. And so the rest of it is your process. I'm not here to tutor you. You do understand, right? My channel isn't devoted. I don't sit there and say, hey, I'd like to tutor you all on reality. No, I really am fighting the war. So first I had to develop my weapons. My weapons are the arguments, redefining the circumstances of the experiments, the defining moments in physics. You know, the two slit, which they constantly call the nail in the coffin to particle theory. Well, I pulled those nails out and revealed that you buried a live person, and that's how reckless they are. And there's more. There's more fighting to get out of coffins. There's more facts fighting to get out of those coffins. The fact that gravity is a real force. Well, they nailed that into a coffin and buried it, and it's sitting there struggling to get out. You know, I'm fighting to get it out of its coffin. You're not going to be a help to me. I mean, I'd like to be able to say, hey, you know, come help push, but there's nothing to just push. The only way this mechanism can roll, okay, is these arguments have to be understood and have to be able to be defended. And people who don't fully understand them can't really defend them, so they really can't do much at this stage. It's just a fact. Now, they can try to solicit their warrior to come into my battleground. That would help. But other than that, other than allowing me, you know, it's like I'm a prize fighter and I'm trying to rise through the ranks. Having a bunch of friends isn't going to help me any. I need to get into the ring and have fights and win and move my way up to the little, you know, the little whatever, the talking heads of physics.
So,
I mean, it's going to be messy because their heads are all so far up their ass. It's going to be a very difficult. It's going to be hard to hit their faces, you know, with a good punch. Can't give them a good, you know, because their heads are actually up their ass.
in a lot of your other videos, you say things like people don't get to this because they get caught up in all the bullshit, and if people really wanted to understand this anti-natalist or not this ethicist argument that you have,
I wish you wouldn't get into that one. This is a physics channel. Why does this other channel have anything to do with this conversation? It really shouldn't have anything to do with it at all. I mean, it's my pet subject, obviously. It's much more important. It's the most important idea in the universe, blah, 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 blah. But it's not what this channel's doing.
you know, that it's going to take time, and you need empathy. You should be able to grasp the whole suffering thing with basic empathy.
Again, I should be able to grasp, but no, I'm making arguments that you don't even need empathy in any kind of, oh, I feel their pain. You don't have to think it's cute. You don't have to think any of those things. All you have to do is understand. I don't have to like pigs to understand that pigs are feeling animals and they have their eyes open and they're comfortable and uncomfortable. They're afraid. You know, they have moments just like us, emotional moments. And I don't wish them, even though I don't think they're very attractive, I don't wish them to have bad moments.
And so I'm wondering where you offered me any empathy in your video response to me. I'm wondering where you thought,
No, I didn't offer you any. I'm not here to do that. Again, you're sitting there saying in the middle of a war, I should stop to say, oh, you got an injury somehow. I ran over your toes with my tank, and you want what? You want compensation or something? I have to put you to bed and say I'm sorry. Well, fuck all that shit. Okay, I told you right in front of my tank. It says, okay, if you don't know what you're talking about, you're in my fucking way. Okay, so stay the fuck away from my fucking tank. You fucking assholes. You know, if you don't know you don't understand any of this, the conversation is way the fuck over your head. It's just a fact. The real argument I have to have has nothing to do with your elementary understanding of physics. Fuck.
maybe we should deal with this comment thing that he said. You know, it wasn't even you who pointed out the fallacy of the comment that I made. It was another YouTuber, Perv Action. He was the one who pointed.
Who cares? I saw it and I said, fuck you. Is there any more complicated than that? No.
It out. Not you. And it would have been a lot better coming from you. I think if anything made me pissed about this whole thing and riled up was Amanda trying to jump in on your behalf, and she didn't need to do that. Her opinion about how much I could learn, saying something like, he doesn't need to re-educate you, I think you need to slow down.
Well, that seems rather good advice, frankly. You seem a little bit young puppy. You're trying to take on the world, blah 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 blah. And yeah, I had some of that too when I was young. I tried to do things that were impossible. Okay, I've had all kinds of battles where I've failed in life. And they were learning lessons. Okay, I mean, I had some expectation that the legal system, if you really got to the top of it, that it would eventually fix its errors and all that kind of stuff, because these people had some integrity, because I read the old court decisions and they were pretty intelligent people. But the world has changed and now they're all shysters, and so it's all bullshit. Nobody has any principles or integrity, unfortunately. Nobody in power.
I don't know what causes a person to say that, but anybody who wants to tell me what I should do and how I should proceed with the way I do things is out of pocket.
Well, whatever that means, but obviously, frankly, you got a lot to learn then, because some people are just trying to save you some grief. But whatever, because they've been there and done that, and they know it don't work. But anyway, don't take advice from anybody. Fine. And you took advice from somebody else that pissed you off, and therefore you blamed me for it. Okay, fine, whatever.
Was out of pocket, and I lost a ton of respect for her for jumping in on something that wasn't even about her. She came to your defense like trying to be some type of superhero, and I think that was really silly, because I expected you to be able to handle me, because you seem to be able to handle it.
Yeah, that's right. And so whatever, I have no knowledge of any of this mush, okay, background crap. And again, there's nothing complicated about my reaction. You asked for it, and I gave it to you. Okay, you jumped in front of my tank, I ran you over, period. The end. Thank you very much.
Everybody else just fine. When have you not been able to handle somebody that's made a video comment to you? So I don't know why Amanda felt that, knowing that you have a decade of, decade.
Well, it's probably the same reason you think you need to find something to support some team. That's why they have groups. That's why people collect. It's because there is some advantage. And you're thinking that I don't need anybody to take care of some of this crap for me. I have to do it all myself. I have unlimited time and unlimited neurological faculty, and I can just devote all my attention to all this kind of nonsense, and that won't compromise my existence at all. Well, yeah, it will. So if you want me to say Amanda bad, that ain't gonna happen, retard. So fuck you.
Over a decade of videos on multiple channels where you discuss all this stuff with other people. So if anything got me riled up, it was that. I had points, even when you blocked me in the video, I still had points and things that I was willing to discuss, but I really got derailed by the Amanda thing. I think she thought it was drama.
Well, it was drama, and it's really not the mission of the channel. So again, you're not bringing up anything. You're sitting there reading tripe out of a physics book that isn't even related to the subject, which is, what does the evidence say? You're just reading their proclamations. Reading their proclamations and reading their conclusions has nothing to do with the subject, in the sense that the real subject is, what does the evidence really say? If I really go to the museum and look at the fossils, what do the fossils say?
And I never looked at it like that. But like I was saying, like, what if you were right? How do you expect people to respond to you? What are you looking for?
I've made it pretty explicit what I'm looking for. I'm looking to take down the fake king. Okay, physics is a fraud and a fake and a phony, in the sense that it's all made out of imagination, and they really didn't tie it up clean. It's not an evolution theory with voluminous evidence. It's exactly the opposite. It's essentially a religion. We saw Jesus walk on. We saw two photons talk to each other once with ESP. Some sort of horse shit. Tiny, tiny shreds of evidence, big giant story piled on top of it. That's my mission here. And obviously I have an alternative evolution theory that explains why we see what we see. And it's much simpler, and it's universal, and it fits all the circumstances, and you don't need any woo.
Someone that's really going to try to understand what you're talking about. Do you realize you're up against the world as it is? Because
yeah, and I realized that all I need to do is get them trapped in the ring, and I'll beat the crap out of them, and they'll declare me king. Okay, I mean, I'll win the heavyweight championship. So all I need is my fights. All I need is them to put something real in the ring with me that can actually have an argument relevant to the subject. Okay, he's got gloves on, it's the right size. Have a real bout, and I'll win. And those victories will pile up, and I'll win the day. That's the plan.
If you did, there's really no reason to approach people the way you do. Like, you could just give somebody a shot. Like, all you had to do in the video.
Again, giving a bunch of distractors a shot. Why do I need to do that again? How is it to my advantage? I'm in my tank, heading for the, Hitler, and you're going to waste my time with some babbly conversation about whether my tank is painted the right color. I'm not interested. You can't make the necessary contribution. You don't have the currency. Okay, you admit that. You're a learner. You're not a knower yet. So what do you think you can do for me except consume my time?
And say, you made this fallacy here. I don't want to continue to discuss that if you're conflating these things. So it's either this or a gravitational lensing. So you're gonna have to pick. But if you can't,
well, I don't even know what that means, but I've made it clear. They're the ones with no evidence, shit for brain. I don't have to prove something. I don't have to do anything but just point out the fact that the evidence sucks. You don't understand that term? The evidence is insufficient to the conclusion. The strength of the conclusion is much higher than the strength of the evidence can support. All right? The evidence is the floor it's built on. Well, I'm saying it's built out of balsa wood. Your foot will go right through it if you really walk on it. So it's just a floor for looking at. It's not a floor for walking on.
Be rational about your choice, then I'm not going to continue. I'm not going to make a video response. I'm just going to ignore it.
Good. Just ignore me entirely is fine with me. Again, you're already admitting you're just barely connected to this in some way where you have a tiny bit of knowledge. What do you think you're going to contribute? Shit.
How come you didn't do anything like that? Why did you have an emotional reaction to the comment? And then in the video, you let that color the whole thing, even though you were the one who said you were going to give me the benefit of the doubt. But you let that comment color the whole video. How many words was it? Like 10?
Doesn't matter how many ways you use the what? Ridiculous or some other word. I'm supposed to say, oh, no, that's not the way I meant it. Fuck you. Yeah, just fuck that bullshit. Oh,
So I just don't understand how you can have you have this argument, but then if someone tries to argue or get somewhere with you, it turns into a stupid attack.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. You weren't getting anywhere at all. All you did was sit there and do something really, really stupid and say, I don't think so. I tell you, the Eddington experiment hasn't been reproduced past the margin of error. I mean, it's this famous thing, got Einstein on the cover of the New York Times. Really important experiment. Really perfect conditions. We got space now we can exploit. Never redone. And you say, I don't think so. That's helpful to me? As a counter argument? I don't think so is a great counter argument? No, it sucks as a counter argument. It's nothing as a counter argument. It's a waste of my fucking time. As this conversation. But it's only for display purposes. This is to display purposes, to explain how I'm sorry people watching the video. Most of you are irrelevant to my cause. I'm sorry, that's just the truth. Okay? I'm after bigger fish. I'm sorry, you're little fish. Yes, that's what you are. You're little minnows and you just don't have a role to play in this game. Okay? You can be spectators and you can laugh and have fun and all that kind of crap as long as you're not rude. Because if you're rude to me, okay, if you're insulting my tank, I'm going to get pissed off. You see, I have to maintain my momentum, and I don't need this distraction of a bunch of little naysayers and nitpickers and all this other little bullshit. So if you're a little minnow and you've decided to be a nitpicker, you've decided to pick nit off of my tank, I probably have a swatter attached to the tank, and it's going to swat you.
Thing and you attacked him. And then in the Reddit video, or at least the piece of it I saw, You were mad about people attacking your character and doing all this stuff. But
Yeah, you invited it and then you supported it. So again, if this isn't feeding trolls, what the fuck is it? Why do you think Reddit exists? Reddit exists for one reason, right? Because there's people who get kicked off of all of the respectable message boards because they're just shit talking buttheads. Or the only thing they want to talk about is butts. You know, they want to talk about anal penetration or some other kind of subject where the rest of the people say, I don't know, I don't really want to talk about that. And so either their subject matter is so tasteless, or their comments are tasteless, or they're just rude and they're fucktarded. They don't understand what civilization is. They don't understand what being reasonably polite is. They don't understand any of that shit. That's why they invented Reddit. It's for people who can't have a civil conversation to go have an uncivil conversation. And I'm supposed to say, oh, thank you so much for inviting the uncivilized to the conversation. I really appreciate that. I just can't wait to see what the uncivilized have to say. No. No, thank you very much.
when have you not attacked someone else's character? Is there a video of a response or someone asking you a question that's a staple of what you would like? If you have that material, can you post it somewhere?
I have thousands of fucking videos. Now and then the comments are good, and I reward the good comment with a good response. What's so complicated here? There's literally maybe 200 videos where I'm responding to comments, for fuck's sake.
Because if you had something like that, you know, it says, hey, format your responses like this, and then that way I'll take you seriously because I do deal with a lot of bullshit. So if you're serious...
I know, it's not a lot of bullshit. It's all bullshit. Okay, so frankly, there's a tiny percentage, now and then they'll raise an issue. You know, like in the beginning. I proposed particle gravity, and then somebody pointed out, well, the Sage already did that, and it was debunked. So that was a good thing to do, you know, because then I had to find out, oh, okay, so there is some arguments on this somewhere. And so then I went out and found the arguments, and I found them to be lacking and demonstrate how they were not really good arguments. And that even modern physics is still plagued by misunderstanding. You know, like something's gravity is being created by the gravitational interaction itself is somehow creating gravity, when no, the gravity already pre-exists you arriving. When something has gravity, it already has it before you show up. Okay? The sun doesn't need me to exist to have gravity. It doesn't need the earth to exist to have gravity. It already has it before the earth shows up.
and you're dead ass, you know, you're serious, make it like this, and then that way I'll know. Or do you want people to be directed to your website? How am I supposed to know these things if almost every video of you is pretty much the same thing, of you going after someone else?
Oh, this is more nonsense. So 90% of my videos are me explaining a theory of physics. It's 90% of the content, no doubt. But this is the part you care about. See, because you're one of these, I guess, a people person or something. You're playing this personality game or something. I don't know what the fuck this is. It's bullshit is what it is. You made a video where you impugned my character, basically called me a liar or a fake because you said so. Not because you had evidence of so. And I got offended. Reasonably. That's the real story.
And so, you know, like I said, dude, I apologize.
You know, like I said, dude. Sorry, I'm not your dude. I'm just not. I don't really care what somebody calls me, you know. But not dude, not boy, not any of that crap. So save that for somebody who's, you know, going to eat that shit. I don't eat that shit. Homie, don't play that.
Apologize if I've said something to make you upset. If you want me to delete the Reddit post,
I don't care about any of this shit. No, I mean, why delete? Why you can't? You pretend it never happened? No, it happened, and there was a reason why it happened, and the reason why it was your emotional reaction, not any problem I have, not anything I did. Okay, there was nothing wrong. My sign on the tank is clear. The reactions are clear. You're looking for something to some war to fight in, and you're trying to pick which one you're going to join, what army you're going to join based on how shiny the uniforms are or something. Well, whatever it is, I'm not doing that right now. Okay, it's not my mission in life is to do this thing, to have these little interactions. I'm here to argue physics. I don't want to argue anything else. That's it. Physics. Let's have physics arguments. All right? And physics arguments aren't, I don't think so. That's not a physics argument. That's an arrogant, obnoxious, pile of shitto.
I'll go ahead and do that. Reddit is never that serious to me. Reddit is what I use to find the gist of what people are usually thinking about. I have no stake in Reddit.
Well, whatever. All of the alt forums should be just called moron forums. Sorry, because it's only the morons who hang out there. So it's just not fruitful. But whatever. People do whatever you want. I don't care. I'm just driving my tank. I don't got anything else to do here but drive my fucking tank. I know which way Germany is. I'm heading that way. That's what I'm going to do until I cease to endeavor to persevere.
Or a personal thing with Reddit. Reddit is how I source social media, where I get a feel for what people think about a thing or a subject or an idea or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know why you care what people think, because you're just going to find out they think something stupid. They all do. Oh. Sorry, but I mean, it's almost like, you can't run over somebody who's not some way or another. Like if you're fighting idiocy, okay, that's what I'm heading for. So it's not Hitler, it's an idiot. Well, any peasant I run over has got so much idiot genes in them that I can't really go wrong running any of you over, because you're all idiots. So that's the sad part of this war, is that it really just is me against whatever 7,268,478,672 humans. They're all fucking idiots.
I don't have social media. I got out of that. I don't follow the I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. YouTube is on.
All right, well, I really don't want to talk about all this crap, because this is all so fucking irrelevant to my purpose. So thank you. Apology accepted for whatever it's worth. I don't want to diminish it. You maybe sincerely regret some of your flippant remarks and attitude and blah, 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 blah. I think I've explained what I'm doing here and why I react the way I do. There's nothing that's going to change about that. I don't see anything changing in the near term. Again, I'm looking for a title fight. I really just don't have time to teach other people how to fight. Not my job. Alright, anyway, till the next time and such. And so forth and whatnot. Alright, some comments. Let's see. These people are never on the subject. They're really never on the subject. They just really never are. Alright, there was something down here I thought made some sense. I don't know what time it is in Turkey. Alright, this is all crap, so we go up a little higher until we find something. Not relevant to being. According to your understanding of physics, Gary, can the universe be repeating indefinitely, or is it just becoming something permanent? According to my understanding there's just not enough evidence to even fairly speculate, but I can tell you that I prefer, reasonably speaking, this idea that it's an evolving system, that everything is evolution. So the universe is acquiring its depth over gazillions and gazillions. It's a very old universe, much older than they think. And that, yes, it's repeating things in the sense that I've sort of explained how this gets into this whole galactic argument, which will come up in a different comment, so that's good. That galaxies could just be oscillating constantly, getting bigger, falling apart, and then they go into the compression stage. And they just do that because that's what the energy's doing. when the energy leaves, the energy is reflected back. So the universe is a bubble. Photons that are going into the blackness of space, out that way where there's no stuff, they're coming back, and they're coming back as gravity. And so as the system, as the pressure, it's just the pressure between how much energy is in the form of trapped in matter versus how much energy is loose in the form of like photons. And add those two, just yin and yang. The energy gets a little heavier on the free side, and then once it gets heavier on the free side, that means the gravity is going to increase, and therefore more of it's going to get trapped in the galaxies, and then the galaxies are going to release it again, and blah blah blah. But it could be permanent that way. It could be lots of things. There just isn't enough evidence for anybody to say with any authority what model seems more rational. I mean, it's just such a bare standard that you're judging it on, and it is more about some sort of vague intuition in the sense of what does common experience kind of yell at you. And I guess what I'm saying is that evolution as an idea we apply to this idea of what a DNA in a molecule has been doing for a few hundred million years, but it could go much deeper than that. Evolution could go to the chemistry, and then it could go to, before the chemistry, it could go to the elements, and it could go to the energy itself. Okay. Thanks for the explanation. I get your issue with light scatter. Okay, no, that's not a question. All right. Could you combine two laser pointers to change the color of a dot? Yes, but no, right? See, that this is one of these little subtle, complex arguments. I think he's saying more than what he's saying. In the sense of just, oh yeah, if I shoot a red laser and I shoot a blue laser, I'll end up with purple. Yes, as a reflected color, but the reflected color is still blue and red. The purple I see is still blue and red. It's not. I didn't change anything. Okay, so the idea of changing color from one of the primary colors, can I turn red light, okay, into blue light, is the more interesting question. Can I convert this way, or can I convert the other way, right? So I have two, the primaries. So we know the red's frequency like this, and we know the blue's frequency like this. Okay, and the question is can you make this out of that and not into this? And I would argue that, yeah, you can, but the trick is the blue is also polarized, narrow, where the red is polarized wide. And that's the part that gets a little tricky, right? Because the red, I can combine two reds, in the sense I could have red, and I could have another one superimposed at the alternative, right in between those little red dots. And now I made blue frequency, right? But I still have red polarization. That is the out of alignment of these little bits is still big. And so I'm sending it to too big a space. Too many atoms will be hit by it, right? And so it won't be concentrated enough to create the blue response electrically. So even though it's blue light in the frequency, it's not blue light in its polarization. It's too spread to be interpreted as one photon. It can't be seen as one photon, and so it'll just be energy or something else, because its polarization wasn't corrected by the mechanism that made the frequency. So this is sort of where it gets, these are subtleties, and everything has these little subtle catches, and that's the complexity of doing this business, is that you have to take into account all these implications of something happening. So theoretically it'd be easier to turn the blue, okay, into the red, because it's easier to spread something than it is to make it finer. So, so the idea that the blue, you could extract the blue light by it hitting something and then sending one piece this way, and then the other piece goes this way, and the next piece goes this way, and the next piece goes this way. Well, that will convert the blue into red, okay? And the red, having a smaller polarization, can't hurt it. That improves the red in a sense. It makes it better red, okay, not less red. So the fact that those two reds I created, the one going that way and the one going, I drew them the wrong way obviously, but anyway, you get the idea. There's two red photons I created out of the one blue one by just going left, right, left, right, left, right. So the electron jitters this way and then jitters this way and then jitters this way and then jitters this way, and it's just sense, so the frequency is expanded and you end up with two bigger frequencied streams. So they have a crystal that actually does that. You shine blue light in and you'll get two reds out, okay? Now, whether they come out instantaneous, well, I would sort of argue they're sort of constructed where they can't be instantaneous. They can't be exactly at the same moment. One of them had to go left first and then right. So there's some phase difference. But anyway, and there would be a polarization difference, which there is. But anyway, so that's a theory for understanding that. So it'd be easier to go from blue into red than it would be to go from red into blue. That would be an argument I would make. Because the blue requires the polarization to be narrower. The energy has to involve fewer electrons, I would argue. Alright, I'm interested to know your thoughts and criticisms of this article, Proposed Explanation of Symmetry in Spiral Galaxies. So, I can keep saying this, but I really wish the comments were on the subjects. I put an email address in the description, so if you want to send me other stuff, then email it. I might read it. I mean, I really do get way too many crank emails, but I eventually see stuff. Or, I don't know what to say, It's just that, the comments aren't on the subject of the video. It's just sort of annoying how many of the comments aren't on the subject of the video. So anyway, so this is just such mush as a paper. So they're going back and resurrecting etheristic kind of notions of reality. So, we're going all the way back to the 17th century astronomer Kepler and the stuff he might have made up in his head to describe why something happens. And so we have a morphogenic field, with some kind of thing he created to give gravity more oomph, because he didn't really understand it entirely. And these guys are basically defending that in some sort of silly way where they're saying there's some extra force. So it's not dark matter. There's just this magical extra force that isn't dark matter. It's just a non-interesting proposal. And it's based on something pretty silly, which is the symmetry of snowflakes. They're not that symmetrical in the first place. If you really do measure the amount of mass there is on one side versus the other side, they're not symmetrical. Okay, I mean, they can be 10, 20% difference, whatever. It's not some perfect symmetry. But obviously these things are built by time in an atmosphere, and so obviously the amount of time it takes for a crystal to form would be even, and all. There's lots of reasons to understand why snowflakes have some symmetry. But anyway. Seems like I mean, this whole idea of, you have to use analogies and comparisons. It's part of understanding systems, but it can be abused. And there's some things that just shouldn't be, like comparing water waves to light. It's just not a very good thing to be doing. Okay, so, this is their dopey explanation of these fields, that somehow the light is swirling in and blah, 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 and that somehow the galaxy is based on a double helix. And, you're just like, oh, come on. So to me, the more fundamental question is, now I don't know a ton of this cosmological stuff, so can't say I'm saying anything with authority. I'm just saying they haven't proven to me that this thing is swirling in versus this thing falling apart. So most of what we understand about galaxies is their core is a binary system. So there's a lot of conflicting imagery they give you about what's going on in a galaxy. There's reason to doubt that they even have figured it out, just because one minute it's a black hole, the next minute it's, two black holes. And so anyway, the idea is there's two stars, two neutron stars, two heavy things spin, okay, around each other. There's no mass in the center they're spinning around. They're just spinning around each other. And that's the core of that thing. So you can understand that the arms would be the leakage off of these two things. So obviously it's a binary star. The leakage is going to be symmetrical, okay, and inverted. It's, from this guy's perspective versus this guy's perspective. It's that whole argument about, clockwise from the left side looks this way, clockwise from the right side looks like you're going that way. It's like exactly the opposite. So this really just a spin dynamic, and you're just saying, that there's cycles to this, radiation that flies off of the galaxy. The radiation flies off of the galaxy, in this cycle, based on when there's the most adhesion or whatever. So there's an ellipticalness to it, so it could be a little bit elliptical. And it sheds when it gets close. They shed, and then when they get further apart, they don't shed. So the arms are made through that process, you could argue. But again, see, the speed problem is these little stars here are moving too fast. The ones out here to be considered orbiting. But the problem is they're thinking about this gravity as being the only source of that motion, when obviously in these arms there's lots of other stars that they're gravitationally connected to, and that this whole mass itself is gravitationally affecting this whole mass itself. That just like a binary system, these two arms are gravitationally connected to each other also. And that's going to change the dynamic, because your mass, the mass of that galaxy, can be understood to be maybe 50% of the mass is here. Unlike our solar system where, 98% of the mass is in the sun and the rest of the planets are only 2%. This system could be 50-50. It could be 90-10. And the mass is in these things here, out here. The mass is not in the center. It's spread out over here and here and here. And that would be a cause for these things to be going faster, because it's not a traditional gravity model where you're saying it's going too fast for the amount of gravity it would feel from here at the inverse square law. Well, the inverse square law doesn't count here, because we're not talking about one central mass causing all the orbits. We're talking about a bunch of mass in a lot of different locations causing your speed. So the speed of this object isn't orbiting this. It's orbiting this. It's orbiting all of this stuff. So I'm just arguing that I don't know whether the professionals, I don't know if they've even drawn this. I don't even know if this is anything ever even considered. If they're just going to judge by, they say the star is here and there's a black hole here and I did the math for that, then they're way, incompletely analyze the galaxy, because the galaxy is a lot more than that. It's a lot more complicated gravitational model than just saying, what's this distance, r, Okay, and what's this velocity that would be in orbit from this distance? What velocity would you have to orbit from this distance? Well, if that's all they did, then of course this is going too fast, because this is a lot more complicated. This gravitational model is a lot more complicated than that simple bullshit. But I don't know for sure how they did their analysis. So I can't say, but I'm just saying on its face, it looks like double slit bullshit. It looks like, they way under analyzed and way overstated. Again, weak evidence, hard conclusions. Again, and even just looking at that image, you can sort of see that, that doesn't look like pulling into me. That whole formation of that cluster and the swirling of it, it looks like something that would be falling apart because it's so ordered. It's like the surface peeled off. It's like surfaces. That's the look of surfaces peeling off. It's not the look of collection. To me. So anyway, but I don't know what evidence they have for their beliefs. Unfortunately, these things just don't move fast enough, for us to get some comparison photos to say, well, what did this look like 30 years ago and what does it look like today? And the two images are going to be so distorted from each other that we're really not going to be able to say much. But I like to see that stuff. It's just that they're terrible at compiling these images. They'll show you gravitational lensing images, but we should have 30 years of them now. We should be able to see the whole life cycle of one of these gravitationally imaged, one of these gravitationally lensed realities, and we should be able to see how it's evolved, this lensed image. And certainly we should be able to see it from slightly different perspectives, considering the Earth's orbit and different locations and all that kind of crap. But whatever, it's way underdone science in my opinion. So anyway, yes, so I think the theory is pretty stupid. It's just another, we'll replace dark matter with angel wings. It's just another version of, instead of the invisible man, it's transparent man. Not a huge difference. Let's see. It sounds like you find answers or looking for, but interested to hear more for life advice. No, life advice. No, I don't do that. Unless I make a mistake. Yeah. That's the mistake parts of the videos. And fortunately, it's a very tiny percentage of the videos. Anyway, so this is all pretty much useless. Please share and comment to help Gary. It just doesn't, unless you know a physicist, or unless you're sharing with physicists, you're probably not going to share with anybody that's going to be able to help. Okay, this isn't, it's just not about having a mob, it's about having an argument, and then it's being able to win the fight. And, sorry, but, most of you just can't help. I mean, you could send me $1 million, but, beyond that, you can't help. It's just a fact. Sorry. I wish I could make it so you could help. I appreciate the interest. I appreciate even saying, I'm rooting for Gary, the underdog, just because I'm an underdog. I could appreciate you rooting for me just because I'm sometimes funny. I don't really mind all that stuff. I don't mind you rooting for me. Just don't do it too overtly. Because it just looks kind of, like rooting. And I need better than that. I mean, subscriber numbers do matter, so I'm not saying it wouldn't hurt to have a bunch of looky-loos. But if they're going to get in my way, then it's going to be, if I got a bunch of looky-loo skulls ground up in my treads on my tank, right, it's going to slow me down. I don't need to be running over a bunch of, people, or, hi, Gary, standing in front of, it just, slows me down. I have to use fuel to plow over you. It's, Sorry, I don't mean to be so harsh, but yeah, it's a war and all that kind of crap. War's hell. All right. So till the next time and such, and so forth and whatnot. Get back to physics. Hopefully there'll be some physics video of some interest. I have to do more writing. I have to do some more, maybe another overview video, maybe getting some more specific arguments and blah 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 blah. Well, I mean, I'm sitting here looking at that two slit video, and I'm just saying this was the big one, right? I've done it. I have done it. I've explained this 200-year mystery, this thing with all this voodoo tied to it, all this bullshit, and made it so clear, so easy to understand. And I should be able to get my fight. I mean, that should be enough to say, yeah, I can throw a punch. I got the goods. But it hasn't happened yet. So anyway, keep working at it. So, till the next time, I'll endeavor to persevere. Hopefully I will be here to do that.